Celeste Cuffey here at Life Empowered Consulting Services, where our mission is to reach, empower, and motivate others to access and utilize their God given talents and skills, building better families, companies, and communities. I am here today with your 15 minutes of living life empowered. Thank you so much for joining me on today. I'm excited about the topic that we'll be discussing today, and it's very simply legacy. What are you leaving behind? Now, typically, when you look at the term legacy, or if you look at the definition of legacy, you will find three common things that you will understand or learn generally about legacy. The first thing is that it occurs after death. The second thing is that it's typically relational. It goes from parents to children to grandchildren to great grandchildren and so on. And then the third thing is that it's typically tangible, a house, land, a piece of jewelry, something like that. And those are the normal or the common components of legacy when you hear that term discussed. Generally, it has a financial connotation to it. It talks about passing something on, as I said before. And what we're going to talk about is definitely that, passing something on. But there are four things that I want you to know about legacy as well. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing that I want you to know about legacy is that legacy does not begin at death. Your legacy begins at life. Legacy does not begin at death. Your legacy begins at life. Every moment, every interaction, every event, all of those things build and they grow. And those are the things that create your legacy. So what are you leaving behind? When you went to work today and you left work, what kind of experience did you leave with your coworkers? What kind of experience did you leave with your manager and leadership of your organization? When you left the house for work this morning, what kind of experience did you leave with your children? Do they know that you love them? Are you consistent in saying that? What have you left behind? When you went out to your social event, what kind of legacy did you leave behind? When you went to McDonald's and ordered some French fries and a shake, what did you leave behind? How did you make that cashier feel? This is your legacy. Now, when you think about corporate America, typically they teach us that you should have a mentor. You should have someone that is leading you. You should have someone that is guiding you, that is coaching you, that is supporting you as you are going and growing in your career. Correct? I completely agree with that. But I'd like to take that a step further and say not only do you need a mentor, but you also need an advocate. You need an advocate that will speak on your behalf when you are not in the room. Now, what does this have to do with legacy? Everything. Because what have you given them to say? What has your experience with them and their experience with you? What have you left them to say? Have you left them something to speak well of? That is your legacy. So the first thing that I want you to know about legacy is that it does not begin at death. It begins at life. The second thing that I want you to know about legacy is that it's more than just relational. Again, if you look at the traditional definition, it discusses passing on something from generation to generation in your family. So my mother leaves me something, and I leave something to my children, and I leave something to my children's children. It's traditionally relational. It's in the family, as discussed according to conventional definitions of the term. However, your legacy can go well beyond just your family. Again, how did you treat that young lady in the restaurant? How was your experience with your coworkers? You're leaving something behind. And is it positive or is it negative? That is your legacy. What can they say about you as a result of their experience with you? Can they say that you're kind-hearted? Can they say that you love and that you're sincere and that you're honest? This is your legacy we're talking about. Which actually takes me to my next point. The third thing that I want you to know and be aware of concerning legacy is that it's not just tangible. Legacy isn't just your house and your car. Your legacy isn't just your money. Legacy isn't just your debt. But legacy is also inclusive of what kind of character did you pass along? What kind of work ethic did you pass along? What kind of support did you pass along? What type of integrity did you pass along? What did people learn from you just by being in your presence? That is also, ladies and gentlemen, legacy. Now, the fourth and the last thing that I want to share with you about legacy, and I want you to just understand this, is that legacy isn't always positive. Legacy isn't always glowing. I came across an article probably a couple of years ago now about a young lady whose dad had passed away. And the one thing that she wanted to do was tell the truth about her dad. And the fact of the matter was, according to her, he was kind of a horrible person. And so that was what he put on. That is what she put on, I apologize, his obituary. Just the facts about who he was and what he did. What's going to be on your obituary? I know that's morbid, right? But it's something to think about nonetheless. Because every day that you live, you're creating and you're leaving a legacy. And as sure as we live, we will all die. And so let's just take a moment and deal with that. And as we're dealing with the fact that we're going to leave here, and we have to decide what we want to leave behind, please understand that everyone is going to leave a legacy. But it's up to us. It's up to you, the individual, me, the individual, to determine whether or not it's going to be positive or negative. And so it's just so important that you are aware of that as we're talking about your legacy, as we're talking about what legacy is. Now, let's take it a step further. We've talked about financial literacy. I've seen so much information about it. Definitely take care of that. Take care of that so that your family can at least not have that to worry about. And so I want you to just take a moment again and think about what you're leaving behind. Not only after you pass on, but after you leave the room, after you leave the event, after you leave the interaction. Now, can you think of someone that you've had an experience with and it wasn't a positive experience, but that is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of that person? Do you want someone to think of you in that manner? That the first thing they think of when they think of you is negative? I hope not. That's not the legacy we want to leave. We want to leave a legacy of building our families, building our communities, building our sisters and our brothers, having a positive impact. That is the legacy that we want to leave behind. Now, I know someone is saying, I don't care, because when I'm dead, it's over. And that's where I have to remind you that legacy doesn't begin at death. It begins at life. And so, what is Today's life empowered moment. Simply this: live like the legacy you want to leave. Live like the legacy you want to leave. So, this is Celeste Cuffy here with your 15 minutes of living life empowered. I thank you for taking time out with me on today. Please visit my website at www.celestecuffy.com so that you can see the upcoming events, so that you can stay connected with me. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me as well as call me at I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing, as well as call me at 414-939-LECS. Thank you so much for your time. And remember, live life empowered. Take care. Goodbye.